Hey fam, so this is the video to carry us on to the next subject, tying in depression and change. So if you haven't checked those first few videos out, I really encourage you to do that. The first video was talking about depression and my perception of depression. It's very unique, and I think that's what really helps me manage my depression, is because I do find myself falling into pits of depression when I'm really struggling with the daily routine that I'm facing, or something where I tend to feel stuck with in my life. And so that's where I concluded that in reality, and I've talked to therapists about this and they absolutely agree. So I know I'm not a psychologist or a therapist in any way, but I have talked to therapists about this and they do agree that when you are depressed, it is because you are seeking a change of some sort. You're wanting to break free of some cycle that you've been going through for a very long time. And so, and of course with change, you can't look for that change externally until you start to kind of look inward and take care of yourself first, reflect inward, answer some questions and what you need to do. And again, for some people who are severely depressed, that's very hard. But if you're able to actually catch yourself in that mode of, what am I doing here? Why am I so sad? Why am I so depressed? Why do I feel so stuck? That can actually start to elicit some real profound information from your inner self of the things that you need to do as far as changing your perception in order to change your path. And so change is essential when it comes to depression. And again, that's where a lot of people struggle, is they think that they don't have the motivation to change. Whereas if you take these baby steps, and it's going to be unique for everybody, these baby steps in order to conquer this depression, and in order to find that change that you're seeking. Again, it all starts within. And I started to touch on the conversation of complacency. And depression tends to hit, at least for me, and maybe if you have depression, you can kind of reflect on this yourself and ask yourself, when I become depressed, is it because I started to fall into complacency? Now, to clarify complacency is when you are just riding the waves of everyday life, almost in a robotic kind of automatic mode, where you're not even really stopping to think about things on a deeper level. You aren't working towards newer goals or new experiences. And that's where I feel like our psyche thrives. Like we thrive deep down for experiences, for learning, for new things. And if we don't allow ourselves to have that, then it's easy for us to feel like, oh my God, I'm going through this same old cycle, the same old things keep happening to me. And then you fall into the pit of depression. It's kind of like you're trying to push down a brick wall with your hands, trying to beat a dead horse. You're not going to get anywhere trying to do the same thing over and over again. If you look back in the circumstances in your past and go, well, it hasn't worked to do what I've been doing. I need to do something else now, right? I need a new path. I need a new focus. And so that's where I was coming with complacency. Now, then I said that for this conversation, I would tie in complacency when it comes to relationships and marriage. And this is where I really started to understand. I am thankful that now I am in a relationship where we are so easy to detect complacency in ourselves and each other. And we'll point it out. Hey, I've noticed that you've been kind of stuck in a little rut. You're not really like being proactive. You're not really being like wanting to go do things, you know. And so we catch ourselves and we catch each other and remind ourselves that we're falling into this complacency, so that we're kind of like, oh, I need to fix that. I need to do something about that. So relationships don't usually work that way if you think about it. Typically what happens is with a relationship, you become comfortable. And that's good. You want to become comfortable with your partner. But what happens is that you become too comfortable. So comfortable that you forget to put your effort into who you are and into your relationship. And I'm not saying this for everybody, but once you start getting into this place of complacency with your relationship, it starts to become routine. And routine can get pretty boring because, again, your true self needs new experiences. It needs change. It needs to learn. It needs to explore. And if you're in a relationship with somebody, you kind of have to work together to do that as well. Like, it's good to be independent and have new experiences and try new things, but if you're in a relationship, you would probably want to try to do some of these things with your partner, like go out and try a new restaurant, or, you know, pick up an instrument and start playing music together, or travel, or you know, pick up a hobby that you guys can go out and do together. Finding something that is going to work for you as a couple. It can be as drastic as moving, and that's kind of where the relationship is with him and I, is that we were hitting a wall. Both of us at the same time are hitting a wall, personally, professionally, that we finally go, wait, what are we doing? Like, we keep talking about moving, but we're just like, let's make a 5-year plan and just keep plugging away at what we're doing. No, it hasn't been working. The thing is, what we have been doing to get where we want to go hasn't been working. And so we're like, okay, now we're going to have to take a step back, reanalyze this, and switch gears so that we can try something new, as in try a different angle at what we're looking for in our lives. And that goes for us individually as well. So when we're in a relationship, of course, we need to always be doing something new. We need to be recreating ourselves. We need to be evolving as our independent selves. And that's healthy. And I hope that when you're in a relationship, you're able to get out and do something on your own, and you're not always having to rely on having your partner there with you to do everything. That's not healthy. You need to be able to develop yourself and evolve as an individual. But as a couple, you always have to literally keep learning how to spice things up. And I'm not saying just in the sexual atmosphere, which that's healthy too, but there are other ways that you can keep your relationship spicy and healthy. And that is finding new things to do, new interests, new topics. Sit down and have deep conversations about whatever it could be. Talk about politics, talk about current events that are going on, talk about deep, profound topics that would actually stimulate a good intellectual bond between you two. So there are many things that you can do with your partner to strengthen your relationship and not fall into a complacency. And so think of a typical complacency routine as you guys both go to work. You come home. You got kids maybe, so you're handling the kids to and from school, right? Same routine. Come home, eat dinner, watch some TV, go to bed. Wake up, do the same thing over and over again, right? Weekend, let's go to the park. And you kind of just get stuck in this routine of where you're at in your career, where you're at in your personal life, where you're at in your relationship, where you're at as a parent. If you feel like you are unhappy in any way, the issue is not because that the other person is not giving you that satisfaction anymore, or not being who you thought they were anymore. It is because that both of you, if not just one of you, is falling into this complacency where you are seeking a change, and that change always has to begin from within inside. And so that's the problem, is that typically in relationships where arguments and even leads to divorce is because the person is blaming the other to change. And it doesn't work that way. So you have to understand that you always have to look within yourself, understand who you are first and what you need. And there is going to be something that you do need to fix. It is not a one-sided game at all. I mean, even, hate to say this, but when it comes down to things like cheating and abuse, there is something that the person who is being cheated on or abused needs to do something different. And chances are that's probably get out of the relationship. But you will see these people get stuck in a relationship because of fear, right? That's typically why people stay in a relationship, in an unhealthy relationship, because of fear of whatever that may be with the other person. But if you have a relationship where you are just butting heads, you're not getting along, you're not hanging out, you're not talking and having fun like you used to, that's because you need to reinvent your relationship. So I think that is the key right there. Learn how to reinvent your relationship. Start by simple conversations, deep conversations that you may have had when you first started dating and you don't anymore. Get to know the other person a little bit more and have patience with understanding them, and ask questions without assuming anything, because I think that's typically a pit that people in relationships fall into, is just going to assuming, because you don't have that strong communication bond anymore by asking questions. So kind of think of it this way. Think of it as, let's say you just started dating them again, right? So think of it as you're dating them. When you're dating somebody, what do? You ask them questions to get to know them better. So start doing that again, instead of just going to an assumption, oh, they're mad at me, or they don't love me, or they don't care about, the family, or taking care of the house. Like, stop assuming that. Start to understand them and what they're going through, because guess what? People change, people evolve, or people get stuck in a routine and are seeking change. And sometimes that healthy bond of a relationship, of a trusting, loving, understanding, and patient relationship, can take the time to learn about that. So that's very important. So I definitely encourage you to be a little bit more in tune with your own complacency and catch yourself, and also learn how to notice complacency in your partner, and establish that communication again with your partner, because that's usually what happens, is that once you get complacent in a relationship, that communication starts to break down and it's not there anymore, and that's not very healthy. And then that's where all the assumptions come in and finger pointing comes in. So think about complacency in yourself, in your relationship, and how you can try to catch it and avoid it in the future, to hopefully make your relationship and your marriage last. Because I feel that these days, more and more, you're hearing about divorces and breakups, and we already have confirmed that there is a communication breakdown in our society. So of course it's affecting our relationships. If you think about entering your relationship, have communication be at the forefront. It is very important, because guess what? Communication will bring in everything else. It will bring in the trust. It will bring in the spontaneity. It will bring in the love. It will be, it'll bring in everything that you're wanting, because you and your partner are taking the time to communicate with each other. So communication is vital. It is vital. You have to learn how to communicate, and asking questions is the best way to do it. Having patience and understanding, because guess what? You would hate your partner to be exactly like you. So don't forget that. You would not want your partner to be exactly like you. So enjoy and embrace the differences. Reflect on why you got together with them in the first place. What do you love about this person? What makes them help you feel balanced? That's the important part. So find ways to avoid complacency, communicate, and reflect back on why this person means so much to you. Thank you for watching.